There at the beginning of verse 4, Paul jumps out there and he's talking about love. He says, love is. When you look to the background of the text, and you look into the Greek language, you discover there that that word love is not just some ordinary love, but it is a specific love. You know, we have sort of, in the English language, we have sort of brought down the value of love. And when we use the same word, love, when we say, I love my spouse, or I love my children, and use that same word to say, I love ice cream, or I love my favorite sports team. But the Greek language doesn't bring down love into such banal terms. Love, in this particular instance, is agape love. It is speaking of a higher type of love. It's not eros, which is a romantic kind of love. It's not that kind of love, often a physically driven love. It's not phileo love, where we get the word Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. It's not a brotherly love. It is agape love. This is an unconditional love. It's not a love based on some kind of preconditioned response or something that I get out of if I love. It is a love that we call in spite of love. It's a love that comes in spite of failures. It's a love that comes in spite of weaknesses, in spite of shortcomings. And it's much different than what that kind of love is so common in our world today, what we would call because of love. You know that love that says, I love you because of what you've done for me? I love you based on what I get out of this. I love you because of how you make me feel a certain way. See, that's because of love, but we're not talking about that kind of love. Because of love is the love that is often sung about in romantic songs out in our culture. It's the kind of love that is often depicted in television scripts and movie scripts. And we're talking about an in spite of love. A love that is there no matter what. A love that endures. A love that bears all things. A love that suffers long. A love that loves in spite of anything that is given in return, in spite of any kind of abuse that comes our way. So let me ask you, what kind of love do you have? What typifies your love? If you're in a marriage relationship, do you have in spite of love, agape love, or do you have because of love? Do you have the kind of love that is given, not knowing if it's going to be returned or not, or a love that if it is not returned, you're giving up, you're walking away, you're through with that, because of love or in spite of love? Ruby Johnson, who wrote the book From the Heart of a Mother, wrote this when she said, after our honeymoon, we discovered traits in one another that disturbed us. Some of you are already laughing, all right? Icebergs in our sea of matrimony began to surface, chilling our voyage. Not only that, but we realized that colliding with only one of them could have wrecked our precious cargo. A collision such as that must be avoided. And so in answer to prayer, we learned how to change our course. We discovered that marriage needed another kind of love, in spite of love, the kind of love that is unselfish. Selfish love says, he is handsome, therefore he makes me feel proud. He is kind, therefore he will comfort me. He is reliable, therefore he will give me security. But in spite of love, she says, is different. It says, he's careless, therefore even though it will make more work of me, I will try to compensate for his weaknesses and patiently endure. He is moody, and that disturbs my peace of mind, but I will do my best to help him cultivate a better mood. He is a spendthrift that makes me feel insecure, but I will try to understand his generous spirit and charitable nature. So that's the difference between because of love and in spite of love. In spite of love gives in spite of the shortcoming of the person that we pledged our love to. But how much of our love is an in spite of love? And how much of it gravitates into the other arena as because of love? Because of love says, I'll love you because of who you are. I'll love you now because you fit in with who I am or who we are for now. Because of love says, you do things the way I like, so I love you for now. Because of love says, you don't irritate me, so I'll let you be around me for now. Because of love says, you haven't hurt my feelings, and that's why I'm going to give you some love in return until you hurt my feelings, and then it may be over. That's because of love. But in spite of love is different. In spite of love says, I love you in spite of what you think of me. I love you in spite of what you do to me or for me. In spite of love is a love that is based on who I am and what I want to be for you, not who you can be for me. In spite of love. You know, the Lord Jesus Christ has loved us with that in spite of kind of love, has He not? I mean, He didn't look down from heaven upon earth and begin to say, you know, they deserve my love. They deserve for me to come to this earth and to die for them and to pay the penalty of their sin so that they can get to know me better. No, that's not the case. In fact, it's quite the opposite. As we stand before a holy God, as we stand with our righteousness in our hands saying, God, is this enough? God says, no, it's not enough. There's nothing about you that warrants my love. There's nothing that you have done that causes me to want to love you more. There's nothing, absolutely nothing about you that drives my love about you, and yet I love you anyway. That is agape love. That is in spite of love. And for those of us who have received that kind of love, we are now compelled, especially based upon what we see here in these words, we are compelled to share this love that we have received from God and share it with others, and that ought to be especially true in our marriage relationship.